Today, we have the incredible opportunity to hear from a refugee entrepreneur who has defied the odds and built a thriving business in a new land. Through his inspiring journey, we will uncover the true potential and value that refugees bring to our communities and economies. Join me in welcoming the Willy Wonka of Antigonish, the subject of a best-selling book and movie, both titled Peace by Chocolate, a new husband, a devoted family man, a keynote speaker, a celebrity, a Canadian, and a Syrian refugee. Welcome, Tareq Hadhad. Tareq, it's good to have you.
Very good to be with you, Dalton. Thank you very much for arranging this. What an honor.
Well, the honor is ours. It's so good to see your smiling face. Every time I see it, I wonder, is this what he does all the time? And you've just explained to me, this is your full-time job, smiling.
That's right. I just love to attract good vibes, positive vibes, and the way to do it is by smiling because I realize that in life, no matter what, whether you smile or not, the same thing is going to happen. So why not you take it positively, right? And I also realize that in every challenge, there is a sweet side of every challenge or every negativity, and that I try to bring with people that I meet, with friends. Yeah, and it's very rewarding.
Very good, very good. Well, let's go back in history a bit to a time that wasn't so sweet. Would you share an overview of your journey as a refugee from the time you fled your home to resettling in your new homeland?
Absolutely. So I come from Syria. Syria is a beautiful country. My home city is Damascus. Damascus is an ancient place, a beautiful city that goes back to 10,000 years BC. It's actually the oldest inhabited place on the entire planet. And I was so lucky that my family and we were actually belonging in that spot in the world because it was the cradle of civilization. It was an absolute charming, cultural site that people from around the world, they would stop by to learn about history, to learn about traditions, to learn about our languages, to learn about social cohesion, to learn about our, our interactivities. And my family has a long history of making chocolate in the region, but it already started with my father. It started when my father decided that being a civil engineer is not enough for him. He does not want to become a civil engineer like his family wanted him to be. He wanted to create a difference. He wanted to do something on his own. He wanted to make sure that he is not only seeking success, but also reaching significance. And my family were always following that methodology that success is not enough. You really have to focus on significance. The world is too busy with ordinaries. The world is actually too busy with those who think the same way, who act the same way. And he just felt that entrepreneurship was really the way to interact with the community differently. So he went to my cousin's wedding and then he started making chocolate. And it just went, on a new journey after that. He just loved the idea of chocolate making people happy. And at the wedding, everyone was sharing their chocolate boxes and building connections. And that was the sweetest thing for him. My father actually is an entrepreneur by training. He did not go to school for, becoming an entrepreneur or starting a business. He learned all this stuff by himself. It was a tough time. 1986, there was no technology, there was no Facebook, there was no YouTube. If we go back 30 years from now, Dalton, it would be impossible for us to have even this conversation. So imagine just starting a business from scratch without having any clue how to reach customers, how to talk to them. And it was really a challenging time for him, but he really wanted to make the world a happier place. And after I was born, after my siblings were born, after my father met my mother because he wanted to gift her 2 free boxes of chocolate, and she fell in love with him afterwards. We're joining forces. We wanted to make sure that the world is a happier place, is what my family wanted it to be, is becoming a more compassionate, more empathetic, more kind, more friendly, more nice, more actually understanding to the suffering of others. The painful moments that our family had to live through, it wasn't as painful as watching from the outside and feeling helpless towards other people. So when you go through any of the challenges in your lives, you would feel the most pain when you feel that you can't do anything to change what's going on, or to change the course of other people's lives, or to make their lives better. And I remember how my father kept growing that business until he opened the second largest chocolate factory in the entire region. He had 450 employees working in the factory, hundreds of people working in his networks from across outside the country. And I was actually following my passion in medicine. My background is in medicine. I wanted to become a cardiac surgeon, but the war started in 2011. So that kind of pushed me and my family out of our roots. It took everything away from us. The war stole, actually. It did not only take away, it stole everything that we have built with the blood, sweat, and tears. It destroyed our dreams. It destroyed our goals. It destroyed our aspirations. In 2012, the war reached Damascus. And I remember how much my family wanted to stay in our homeland. I remember how much my family wanted to stick to our roots, wanted to believe that we're like fish in the ocean. We should not immigrate. We should not leave our homeland. And we stayed there until our last chances. My father's factory was bombed in the war in late 2012. And then my family's journey has changed a lot over the time between 2012 until 2013. My entire family left the country and actually except my parents. They wanted to stay. And by the end of 2012, when my father's factory was bombed, we started thinking about leaving our home country. And we did not leave until March of 2013 when a mortar rocket hit near me and my brother. I was injured. I carried my brother. We ran to the house, and then I told my family, listen, folks, no matter what we want to do in life, I'm quite sure we don't want to die. No matter what our goals are, I'm quite sure it's on no one's bucket list to die. And except of aging, like we want to die only of aging. And then I told them it's not time to do medicine. It's not time to do business. This is the time to survive. We took everything we can. We rushed to the Lebanese borders, and that's when we became called refugees. So if you ask me before that experience if actually anything can change in my lifetime, I say, why would that happen to us? We were living happy lives. We had everything we needed. The country was very peaceful. No one really ever thought that the war can start and destroy everything that we had built with the blood, sweat, and tears. It did not only take lives, it took livelihoods. It destroyed actually everything that a lot of people worked hard for it. And the war started out of absolutely the request for people, the passion for having simple human rights, to have a country that functions the way that they wanted to function, to have respect, to have human rights, that kind of bring into the equation the sense of freedom that people can become who they want to become. They can participate in saying and really having their say into who is going to run the country, how the system is going to look like. But in 2013, after we became refugees, we knew that we are going to count to death. We're going to count down to death right after we got that registration certificate from the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. We knew that we would be in a tough spot where we can't call ourselves Syrians anymore because we can't go back home. We are not Lebanese. We are just we're almost stateless, but with a certificate from the UN that tells us you are a refugee. You belong now to the 65 million refugee population that they can't go back home. And I simply did not accept that. I told my family, listen, folks, we're not going to go back to Syria, but how about we try to immigrate somewhere where we can restart our lives? Our family believed in three things. And what translates into English, actually, into the golden 3 R's, which is renewal, reinvention, and resiliency. So we were thinking about renewals in a way that we can, go back and restart our lives. We can reinvent ourselves if renewals doesn't work. As long as we are resilient, we can do anything. We can just be adaptable and celebrate that we are alive. And by the end of 2014, the whole idea of coming to Canada actually became available to us. We applied to go to 14 countries around the planet. None of them opened the doors for us. None of them believed in us as human beings. And my family simply gave up. But I did not. By the end of 2014, the reason why I ended up in Canada is because of a small act of kindness I will never be able to repay. The reason why I came here is because of a cab driver. So that cab driver changed my life forever. He's the one who told me about Canada. He's the one who advised me to apply to come here. He's the one who told me about immigrating. And I actually took his advice. I applied to the Canadian Embassy. But when you go 14 countries and tell them, this is who I am. This is what I believe, that I will become an asset to your country. I will become an asset to your community. Please have a look at my application. And none of them actually just considered the chance to send me an email to say, we apologize. We're not taking you because of one, two, three. None of them even acknowledged my request to even have an interview to immigrate there, including many countries actually around the world, in Europe, Australia, New Zealand. And then I applied to come to Canada because of that cab driver. And then Canadians told me that my application was excellent. They invited me for an interview. I didn't get the scholarship, but then they would tell me my family and I were invited to immigrate to Canada based on a community sponsorship. And community sponsorship, that means the community doesn't know us and we don't know them. It will be a blind match, basically. So what the community wanted is to bring a Syrian family they didn't know to Aniganesh and to help us to restart our lives. And I didn't know actually what Aniganesh was. My family didn't know what even Aniganesh was on the map. And by the end of 2015, I got the chance to immigrate here to Canada. I arrived in Canada on December 18 in 2015. So I've been here over 8 years. I landed in the second largest country in the world. Canada is a massive country. But I knew that I will find people who are humans. I knew that, Canadians are not only good human beings, but they're also brilliant at being humans. And I arrived at Pearson Airport in Toronto. I took the flight the next day to the East Coast, to the Atlantic region. I landed in Halifax, and then they took me to Aniganesh. My family were still waiting for me. They were, all excited about the idea of immigrating. And then they followed me after 3 weeks. We all started our lives again in Aniganesh, Nova Scotia, on the east side of the country. Nova Scotia is called Canada's Ocean Playground. And we truly believe that it is absolutely the most amazing place that we even couldn't dream in our wildest imaginations, that there would be a place such beautiful and warm with people as kind and warm-hearted as people in the Maritimes in Nova Scotia, because they believed in us. They believed that doesn't matter what our skin color is, it doesn't matter what our faith is, it doesn't matter what our background is, with our goals, with our dreams. They just simply cared about us as a human being seeking safety and peace. And that's the reason why we became successful. So the moment we landed in Nova Scotia, in Canada, I had a family meeting with everyone. My father was sitting there, my mother, my siblings. And then I told them, folks, listen, we took a long journey to come here. What shall we make out of this experience? And then everyone simply was sharing the same thing. Everyone wanted to get back to doing the things they love. Everyone wanted to contribute. Everyone wanted to also give back and say thank you to the country that welcomed us with open arms when many other nations were closing their borders in our faces. So the sense of giving back became our mission, became our responsibility. And we just found ourselves again doing the things that we love the most, which is spreading our entrepreneurial spirit within our community in Aniganesh and across Nova Scotia, and making sure that we are working hard to leave the world a better place than what we found it, to leave the world a better place than the one that the war in Syria has created, and many wars around the region are creating now. So that's our story in summary. We ended up in Nova Scotia and we started a business that we called Peace by Chocolate, because we believe that peace is a noblest value on earth that everyone should fight for, and chocolate is our product of happiness. We also believe that peace stands for passion, enthusiasm, advocacy, contribution, and excellence.
Nice.
This is what we believe in, and chocolate is a great ambassadorship. It's a great vehicle, because you know what we found after we came to Canada is that everyone loves chocolate. Everyone loves chocolate, and everyone wants peace. So we were like, let's just marry these two together. It's the perfect marriage, the perfect marriage. And then we thought, after we arrived here, why don't we also, start thinking about taking care of our community, thinking about it as a social enterprise, not really a business. We're like a cause more than a business. Because in 2010, we didn't think about losing our factory in a split of the moment, in a blink of an eye. And we lost it. Now here in Canada, I never wanted my family to spend any effort in rebuilding our lives and then losing it again out of nowhere. So what I wanted is to make sure that people understand our passion for peace, our aspiration to have a more peaceful world, and understanding peace in different ways, and really start to working on solving our problems and our issues and our conflicts without the need of violence, by really coming together and laying out our disagreements, because it's healthy to have disagreements in the community. It's not healthy not to talk about it. So Peace by Chocolate actually is the brand that runs now for nearly a decade in Nova Scotia. We're not 10 years yet, but I really hope to see the company growing, and then we are planning to become more of a national chocolate brand here in Canada, and start thinking about growing exponentially in the international markets as well very soon.
Wow, congratulations on your success. What an inspiring story for all of us. It's hard. And I appreciate you taking away the guilt I feel when I eat too much chocolate, because when I do, you know that it's okay.
Yeah,
Going,
Peace by Chocolate. Just have a secret for you, Dalton, that our chocolate doesn't have any calories. So
oh, I love it. I love it.
calorie free, yes. Guilt free also,
I
which
need a
is very important.
subscription. I need a subscription to that. When you go back to your journey, the time you were displaced before you resettled in Canada, are there any characteristics that were either revealed or developed during that time that helped you in starting and building this business?
Absolutely, absolutely. We realize that you have to have a sense of belonging. You have to have a sense of determination. You have to have a sense of perseverance. You have to celebrate your resiliency as well. I mentioned resiliency in our golden 3 R's, which
Yeah.
is really the most important part. And I really believe that you can't do anything without any of those values, right? What I realized as well is once you hit the rock bottom, there's no more rock bottom to hit. And once you become a refugee, that's it. Like, the only worst thing that can happen to you is really you losing your life, because you already hit your rock bottom. You lost your family members who got killed in the war. Um, I lost many of my family members actually to the war. I lost my brother-in-law who was kidnapped in the middle of the night, was arrested, tortured, killed in prison. I lost my cousins. I lost many of my friends. But then I realized that actually that when I was alive in Lebanon, no matter what happens to me, I'm alive, and I can really rebuild. So the sense of adaptability comes to you right after the trauma, right after the hurt, right after the pain, and that you realize that you are there for a reason, and you are alive there for a reason, and you made it out of the war for a reason. Even when I came to Canada, I also realized that many people, when I landed, just to give you an example, when I landed at Pearson Airport in Toronto, everyone was coming and shaking my hand, and they were saying, "Welcome to Canada, welcome home." Everyone was saying, "Welcome to Canada, welcome home." And I felt that, I really wanted to hug every Canadian at that airport. There were thousands of people, including the Governor General, who was greeting us. We were on the third flight that brought refugees to Canada. And then I realized, listen, we want to celebrate our values with this country. We did not come here empty. We did not come to Canada empty. We had a lot to celebrate. We had a lot to share. We had a lot to tell the country that we are, we came here with rich cultures, with rich languages, with rich understanding of the world, and celebrating our own experiences. We are proud, we are we have our own sense of pride. We are proud people. We know that we came here with a lot of passion, with a lot of big goals. So certainly, it's I think also having a sense of reflection has helped me, during this whole journey.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Going back to the time when you were applying to different countries, I'm going to make an assumption that they never really looked at you as an individual. They looked at you as a Syrian. You also faced this, although Antikinesh was very open, you did have an encounter at least once with someone who wasn't all that thrilled about you coming to town. Would you reflect on that a bit?
Absolutely. Life is the thing is when I talk about Canada, I always talk about the good things. Life is great, the rosy things. I don't romanticize things. It's really all about translating what I lived through. Immigrants are very motivated to translate their skills and experiences into something meaningful and impactful for others. But when I landed in Canada, I didn't really know what path our family is going to take. And my background is in medicine, and I started to think about, oh, hey, let's go back to medicine. A friend of mine in one of the Canadian cities, he called me and then he said, Tareq, what do you want to do in Canada? I said, I want to go back to medicine. And then he said, do you know if you had a heart attack in Toronto, it's safer for you to be in a taxi and not be at the emergency room at the hospital? They said, why it's safer for me to be in a taxi to have a heart attack there and not have it at the emergency room at the hospital? He said, because 60 to 70% of cab drivers in Toronto are immigrant physicians who can't go back to medicine. The country made it very difficult for many people to have their credentials recognized. So I actually gave up on the idea for a few years to continue my studies, and then I thought there are other ways to give back to this country by also translating my family's passion, my family's experiences into the business that we always wanted to build. And that's how things got started. But then to your point there, a few weeks after arrival here, my father arrived as well. We went out to one of the coffee shops in town. At the time, I was and still actually, I'm so passionate about my storytelling, and that's why I'm doing this. But, I'm also excited. I was excited to tell the community why I arrived in Antigonish. Everyone was walking around. Everyone knows everyone in Antigonish, right? So when I'm walking on the sidewalk or a crossing on the main street, everyone was like, who is this? A town of 5,000 people. Everyone was like, who's this a new fella there in town? And then they saw my picture on the front page of the casket, the newspaper. And there was an article about myself, about my story, about my family. And everyone was coming and shaking my hand and saying, welcome to Canada, welcome to Antigonish. This is your home now. For the town of 5,000 people, right? So almost 4,999 people came and shook my hand. There's only one person probably who did not come and say welcome to me. And then someone would come to me at one of the coffee shops in town, and he actually brought the casket, the newspaper with him. And then he said, welcome to Canada, Tareq. But why did you come here to take our jobs? And I honestly didn't know how to respond at the time. I had no clue that people were suffering to find jobs in the region where I landed. I just landed on the East Coast. I had no clue what were the issues that really impacting people's lives. And then I realized that many people were leaving the Atlantic side of the country to bigger cities like Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, or even leaving to the US. And then I realized that people are in pain. They're losing their jobs. And then I said to that same guy that we did not come here to take jobs. We came here to create them. And trust me, back in 2016 in January, I had no clue what I was talking about. I had no idea that even we'll be able to start a business and hire people and offer jobs. And now Peace by Chocolate is the third largest employer in the community of Antigonish. So, we're trying to prove our story and the impact and the contribution by real life examples. And we are hoping to also keep growing to open more factories in this province and also across the country.
And I believe that gentleman may actually be one of your employees.
That became one of our first employees. That's correct, actually. He had to move from outside to outside Nova Scotia a few years ago, but he was one of our first employees that we hired in our company. That's correct.
What a great story. What a great story. As you speak across the country and across the world, what are you finding that uninformed people get wrong about refugees?
The challenge that many people face across the country is really thinking about refugees as human beings. Because whenever you watch the news, refugees are never mentioned in an ordinary context. They're never being mentioned as regular human beings. They only show you the horrors of living in refugee camps. Oh, look at these families, they're living in tents when it's raining or snowing around them when it's -10, and there's only that thin layer of tents, protecting them from the outside. They show you the people just lining up to get their foods, they're lining up to get their basic needs, their dignity is washed out. And that's what people are used to. So whenever someone would watch that the dignity of another human being is erased, is eliminated, is taken out of the equation, they would simply not think of them as equal human beings, right?
Mm.
They would become like second or third degree human beings. And that's what I find when I travel across the country. Actually, people were like, oh, you refugees, they have arms like us, they have heads they have legs like us. I say, yeah, of course, we are like everyone else. And there's a few lines that I wrote in our movie that actually that I participated in building the screenplay until we filmed it in 2020. And one of the few lines that I wrote is that refugees, we live like we have lives like everyone else. We have dreams like everyone else. We
Mhm.
have aspirations like everyone else. We love like everyone else, but we don't die like everyone else. And actually, that was the main focus for me when I wanted to travel across the country. I really want folks to remember the importance as well that becoming a refugee is not a life goal. It's not a choice. It's not a decision. It's something that many people have to live through because they were born in the right place, but at the wrong time.
Oh, so powerful. In our last few minutes, let's just focus on refugee entrepreneurs. And you think back to when you started the business, or can we say restarted the business with your father and family. What types of resources were provided for you? And what kind of resources do refugee entrepreneurs need in order to get off to a successful start?
I really think that refugees, they just need the sense of belief from their community and their ability to restart their own businesses with their own tools. Now, the only thing that might be missing in that equation, certainly the financial support. A lot of refugees come to countries like Canada when they need the initial financial support to turn their ideation or to restart their own businesses because they have a proof of concept in their home countries, right? But the other challenge as well is looking up for the resources that are available. In a country like Canada, there are hundreds of resources available in every region in the country. And the beauty about starting a business in this country was actually the speed of how things move very fast. Like to give you an example, Dalton, in Syria, it took my father almost 30 years to get the company in good standing, to get the business trademark, to get the business registration, everything is sorted out. It takes years upon years in many countries. While in Canada, we were able to register our business in 2 months. In 2 months, we had our incorporation, we had our business registration, we had our trademarking, we had our business planning, we have our strategic planning, we had our, the whole layout of our vision and mission statement. We brought together business counselors, we brought together, government support. It's not actually financial support. It's just, the actual support in terms of step-by-step guidance towards what do you need to do to grow a business from the scratch up to become a successful enterprise in the country and distribute your product. So I realized, you know what it takes to succeed as an entrepreneur in Canada? 1 week of researching and Googling.
Hmm.
That's really all it takes because many of us are now used to the idea of being fed with information and guidance
Oh,
that we don't look for things for ourselves. And that's actually what I found is many people also forget that we are like we have legs for a reason. We can move. We can, if we don't find our own opportunity, we can go and create one. And that's why I actually believe that we have legs. We don't have roots like trees. And that the reason is we can move and we can find our opportunity. We can create. We can build. But at the same time, not forgetting the places that have contributed to shaping the way that we think, the way that we interact with other folks. My grandmother used to always say that you have to know where you came from to know where you're going.
mhm.
And I keep reflecting on that every day I wake up. I really wanted to make sure that my family believe in the power of what they have built. And as refugee entrepreneurs now, they're striving just for their own sense of belonging. They're striving to make value and to make meaningful impact in their communities. I applaud them. I really commend them on the incredible work that's being done because immigration is the toughest journey that any human being can go through. You'll be like a newborn baby. You will have to learn the language. You will have to learn the culture. You will have to learn what products work, what doesn't work. But one of the best things that worked for us actually is believing in one thing that I learned along my journey. One of my profs in school used to come and tell us, if it's not working, go networking. If it's not working, go networking. And I actually love the idea, right? By building networks, you are open for ideas, for innovation, for creation. You're welcome to recreate yourself, to recreate your own business, to recreate whatever you are passionate about. So I really hope that refugees can use the tools that are available out there, can research, can spend time to do the homework ahead of time as they are restarting their own business, can also ask for help. It's very important to master the art of asking for help. You know, many folks are shy for asking for help, right? But I was surprised how many people are willing to support and help. I was surprised how many kind people are out there in the world. And if there is one thing only, there's like a million things, but if there is one thing only that Canada is amazing at, it's showing up when there is a need. It's showing up to those who are fleeing wars and persecution and supporting them to start their dreams and turning them into reality, and also giving us second chances. So celebrate your second chances if you're an entrepreneur. And there's one thing as well that my father always believed, that entrepreneurship is like jumping off cliffs and building a plane on the way down, and you have to learn how to fly again. So my father was the person who jumped off the cliff in 1986. We started to fly again after we came to Canada, because we wanted to make sure that we are translating what we came here with, and we are creating opportunities for other folks who have big dreams just like we did. And we hope that Canada can continue to imagine these infinite possibilities and work hard to create them for refugee entrepreneurs, for those who are dreaming of calling a place home, because at the end of the day, we're all striving for only a sense of belonging, and we're always striving for a place to call home. So as long as we are we're living in peace, as long as we are safe, as long as we have a meaningful network, as long as we feel like we have a country all around us, we have empathy, we have compassion, we have respect, our dignity is protected, we can do magic. And I really feel that no one comes to Canada or anywhere else and take away from other folks. Everyone comes to contribute, and everyone has the same purpose in life, to have a brighter future for themselves and their families.
Tareq, thank you for these wonderful words and sharing your journey. You are a man who is achieving success, but more importantly, you are achieving significance. And we appreciate everything you're doing for the refugee community and for entrepreneurs. Thank you for your time, and I hope you have a great day.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, Dalton.
Yes, sir. Take care.
Take care.